Hi, how are you? I'm Primal Instincts, and you are tuned back into Primal's Podcast. Today's topic, the holding of the breaths, specifically mine. I'm going to answer the questions. How did I learn to hold my breath for so long? And why did I get started practicing it in the first place? Well, it all started when I was just a kid. But before I get into that story, I want to mention that I watched 2 interviews with David Blaine today in preparation for this podcast. And I actually found some cool similarities in there. He mentioned that when he was 6, he saw a picture of Houdini performing one of his stunts and learned that Houdini also had a breath holding talent and he wanted to be awesome like him. So by the time David Blaine was a teenager, he said his breath holding record was 3.5 minutes. And I heard that and I was like, that was my longest breath holding record when I was a teenager. How cool is that, right? And he had also mentioned that Houdini's record was 3.5 minutes. So when I was a teenager, I was already tied with magician Harry Houdini and tied with teenage magician David Blaine. I'm off to a good start, right? But the difference in me and David Blaine in that scenario is when I was a kid, I didn't see somebody else holding their breath. I didn't see a magician and say, I want to be like that person. I just had a natural curiosity about my body and its limits. And one of the experiments that I would do on my own body is try to see how long I can go without breathing. Because everybody knows, even at an early age, you have to breathe to live, and oxygen is the most vital thing to your survival. But we also know that we have the ability to hold our breath if you have to go underwater or any other reason. And I was always curious, how long I can hold my breath for. So I started practicing young when I was in the bathtub, and I'm talking really young, I still took baths. I didn't like washing my body as a kid. I guess things never change. So I would just practice bath time. Instead of washing, I would just try to hold my breath under the water as long as I could. Every single bath time I started doing that. One day, my mother came in to check on me. Apparently I'd been in there for a while, and she'd been calling my name and I didn't answer. So she walks into the bathtub, and there I am, face down in the water, and she thought I drowned. I couldn't hear her yelling for my name because my whole head was under the water. So I had to explain to her what happened and apologized, and I was told I could not do that anymore because it scared my poor mother. So after that, I stopped practicing holding my breath underwater because I didn't want to get in trouble, and instead I started practicing on land. I would, anytime I was in my bedroom, I would often practice holding my breath, just lay on my back, plug my nose. My parents had got me this Casio stopwatch, so I would just time myself. I'd listen to a CD player and just go as long as I could without breathing. Or in the middle of boring lectures in class, I had my little watch. I would sit on my desk like this. Just try to do something like that, making it look like I was just resting comfortably, but really I was plugging my nose shut and holding my breath while the teacher was droning on. Trying not to be noticed by anybody once it got to the point of struggling. But yeah, as a teenager, I got an impressive record of 3.5 minutes. But I knew, I'm just in my teens, I have so much more potential. There's no way I'm just going to stop there. But unfortunately, like a lot of teenagers do, or young people, I went through a phase where I started smoking cigarettes and weed and stuff, and that kind of hindered my ability. Well, after I stopped that stuff, I got back into it, and I think it was 2013, I achieved a new personal record of 4.5 minutes. I had 4 minutes before that, and shortly after I reached 4.5, and I was so proud of it. And by this time, I had started filming these videos and sharing them on the internet and impressing people. Because we go back to the David Blaine. In one of his interviews, he made a really good point that I've agreed with even before I heard him say this. But he said that when most people think of magic, they think of people doing card tricks or, illusions or breathing fire or something. And they're like, oh, well, holding your breath isn't magic. But when you do something like that, like you hold your breath for incredible amounts of time, it's thrilling to the person who's doing it. And to everybody watching, it generates all these emotions in them. It makes them excited. It makes them fearful and anxious. It impresses them. It's entertaining. And the fact that it's able to drum up so many emotions in just one act, that is magical within itself. So I completely understand how that is included in the realm of magic, even though people might consider that to be more of like an extreme stunt, like, I don't know, Evel Knievel, jumping over vehicles with a motorcycle off a ramp. It just depends on how you look at it, but all in all, it's a really good talent. And, David Blaine's interview, he's talking about how he reached 17 minutes. And it was the one where he was talking with Joe Rogan. I was kind of surprised to hear this in there because he was building up to it and saying that a buddy of his had told him how in order to be a Navy SEAL, they would like put weights on them and make them walk along the bottom of water until they would actually black out. It would teach them not to be afraid of the water. And David said he was intrigued by this. So he actually went and witnessed this happen at like a Navy SEAL training area. And at that point, he really wanted to push his body to the very limit. He didn't just want to have like an impressive record. He wanted to just, transcend human ability of holding their breath. And he preferred doing it underwater. So, he had that one television appearance and he was in a big spear of water. And he tells you in this interview that due to difficulties and complications beforehand, he was not able to do it as long as he wanted to. And he actually ended up blacking out underwater. And that's like really scary to see in the footage because it's even on YouTube if you want to see it. It was scary. He got to like after 7 minutes, they had to rescue the guy because he almost died. And then of course, after that, he went on the Oprah show and he did 17 minutes underwater and came back up fully conscious. That was a 10 out of 10 performance right there. But during the Joe Rogan interview, he's explaining to Joe that blacking out from not breathing while being underwater is like a really exciting feeling for him. And Joe Rogan is just like, oh, it's endorphins being released when that happens. And he said, yeah, that's what it is. And then Joe Rogan compares that to somebody being choked out. And I was just like, whoa, where's this interview going, But of course, David Blaine was sure to put the disclaimer in there that you should never try to push your body too far. And I would agree that from a general standpoint, if you have a talent like that where you're pushing your body, the goal should not be to push it too far. The goal should always be to push it as far as it can go without going too far and overdoing it. Because when I saw that first performance where David Blaine blacked out, I was like, 7 minutes underwater is still impressive, but I feel like he overshot it by blacking out in the end. Like it took away from the performance. It wasn't a 10 out of 10 like the 17 minutes on Oprah was. It kind of took away from it. And I understand what he's saying too about the passing out thing because I've actually managed to do that several times myself. It was on accident. It wasn't my goal. But yeah, it does give you a euphoric feeling when you recover from it. And just like David Blaine said, you don't always feel it coming on before it happens. Sometimes you do, sometimes it just happens, and the next thing you know, you wake up and you're just like, whoa, what happened? You don't really realize what happened for the first couple seconds. But it's not my goal to do that. I do get asked that question too, is if I'm trying to push it that far. I just want my body to be able to go as long as it can, voluntarily and comfortably. It's never like forced. And we film these breath-holding battles on the channel, and they're actually for good reasons. YouTube has actually censored and taken down some of the breath-holding battle videos because of the outward appearance. But the reason I film them that way, because in my mind, it's safer to film them on land instead of underwater. Because you see videos like David Blaine, having a blackout underwater is on YouTube, and you got these, these free divers who are, having these shallow water blackouts on accident and sharing them on YouTube. And YouTube allows that because it's under there as a magic act and it's under there as a diver. But me, I don't consider myself one of those things. I'm just showing off my talent to people because I have it and they love to see it. But I do it on land, and I have a trusted friend there for supervision purposes. And I have them, cover my nose and mouth with their hands so that way the audience knows what they're seeing is real. And of course you can see, my neck and my diaphragm. My diaphragm muscle is pumping and it's causing, all of this to move so you can see that it's real. But some of that stuff gets taken down, or people misunderstand it, or YouTube will they might compare it to playing the choking game, which is a completely different scenario and not something that I do. Because of course when you do that, you're cutting off the blood circulation to your brain. You're not just holding your breath. And there is danger in that. There's danger in being underwater unsupervised. There's dangerous in being strangled unconscious. And I don't really like to do that stuff. In fact, I can't even hold my breath underwater as long as I can on land. And that kind of confuses people because it's scientifically proven that when you hold your breath underwater, you have that mammalian diving reflex. When your face touches the water, it will slow your heart rate. It's supposed to do all this stuff to your body to prepare you to hold your breath longer underwater. But it just freaks me out knowing that I might drown if I hold my breath underwater as long as I can on land. Because my current record right now is 5 minutes and 5 seconds on land. That's a long time. I've hit 4 minutes and 4.5 minutes plenty of times. There's only been a few times where I was able to hit 5 minutes. And I still practice. I keep doing it when I can. I'm in good health. I know the secrets to doing it. A lot of people ask me, how do you do it for so long? And the tips I can give are pretty universal. You want to do it on an empty stomach. You got to take some deep breaths in and out for a few minutes beforehand. You want to hold completely still while you do it. The more you move, the more energy you waste, the more carbon dioxide is going to build up inside of you. You want to be in good shape, a healthy weight. There's just so many contributing factors. You can't exercise and then try to do it after that because from the exercise, there's carbon dioxide built up in you, and it's really going to hurt when you try to hold your breath. So there is a system to doing it to make it work. And that's how I got Lord Rubik's to unlock his talent of holding his breath for 4 minutes and 6 seconds. That guy had never even practiced his whole life pretty much. But I told him the tips on how to do it because he wanted to participate in it on the channel. And what do you know? It turns out he has the talent too, like me. I guess you either have it or you don't. I don't know. But yeah, it is a staple playlist on the channel. We do try to be mindful of YouTube's policies. So, I always try to put disclaimers in there. Everybody in the video is adults. I know what I'm doing. I've thoroughly researched everything about it online. Even when it comes to passing out, it might sound scary at first, but if you pass out from holding your breath, practicing on your bed or something, you're just going to wake right back up and you'll be fine. There won't be any damage to you unless you continue not breathing somehow for a minute after that. Then you'll start to get that brain damage that nobody wants. But yeah, I hope that answers the question though. I've just always had an interest in pushing the limits of my body. And it wasn't only with breath holding either as a kid. I did this one experiment where I took all the warmest clothes that I had in my house at the time as a kid and I put them on. And then I grabbed as many blankets from the house as I could and I wrapped myself in them and I just laid on my bed. And the experiment I was trying to do is I was trying to see how much heat my body could withstand even as a kid. I was so hot and sweating so bad, but I was I'm gonna stay like this as long as I can and see how much of it I can stand. I just had that curiosity about myself. I went a full day without eating. I'm not somebody who's ever done any fasting or anything, so one day is a lot for me. I mean, look at me, I'm already lean and thin as it is. 5'11" and 147 pounds right now. So yeah, that was impressive of me to be able to accomplish. And when I was a kid, I even tried to hold my pee as long as I could, which I didn't know at the time was very unsafe and nobody should do that because you can cause serious problems to yourself. But I remember I was trying to go a full day without peeing and I was probably 18 hours in, right? And I was over at visiting my family's house, a family member, and it was to the point where I was crossing my legs and hopping up and down. I had to go so bad and it was so obvious. It was starting to drip out on its own. And finally one of my family members was if you have to go to the bathroom, then go. And I was oh shoot. So I had to go. I had to give up. I was so determined to make it a full day. I'm glad I didn't though, because I could have given myself a urinary infection or a bladder infection. And I don't want anything like that. So, but those are just some more examples. But I took all of that stuff, all that curiosity, and I thought about it, and I said, out of all of these things I've tried, out of all these curiosities I've had, only one of them has been really fun and is actually impressive to other people along with myself, and that is holding my breath. Because anybody can wrap themselves up in blankets. Anybody can go out run across snow barefoot to see if they can bear the cold. Anybody can dangerously hold their pee as long as they want to, but not everybody can hold their breath as long as me. That's an actual talent, and that's something that is really fun and exciting for me to do, and people get a thrill out of watching it. And like I said, it's not my goal to pass out when it happens, but when that does happen, I'll still share the instances of it because it's an accident, but I know people still like to see it, so I still put it out there like, oh wow, so this happened. The thing is, though, is that this platform's not really cool with that, and you got to respect their policies. But there's always like behind the scenes extras and stuff that I can share of like outtakes where that happened for people who really wanted to see it. But yeah, it's a talent that I like to have. I'll continue to practice it. Anybody, I like to give them tips. Maybe they have the talent too. It's the best competition you can have with yourself. I like to play sports. I like to play video games. Holding my breath is like a competition with my own brain and body. And I like to win. And I like to compete against other people and win and teach them how to win against their own bodies too. It's a lot of fun. So I hope that answered the question. Started off young, followed me as an adult. It'll always be there, I'm not going to ever start smoking again, so and that's why I'm better on land than I am on underwater. It just freaks me out. I don't want to drown. I can do maybe 3 minutes underwater, and then it's like, okay, that's enough of that. I want to live. On land, though, let's do it. Let's push it as far as I can. Because it's kind of like what I said, too, with Evel Knievel. Seeing David Blaine black out that first time, it's like, Evel Knievel's got a record of 25 cars he's jumped, right? Well, the next one he clears 26 cars when he jumps the ramp on his motorcycle, but he doesn't land it. He gets over 26 cars, but he crashes his bike and injures himself. It's like, well, you didn't really get the 26 car record. You cleared them, but you didn't land it. It's kind of sloppy. It's like when David Blaine blacked out. It's like it doesn't really count because you overdid it. But then he got 17 minutes on Oprah, and it's like, you are the man. You are a master magician. You are awesome. And even though I had an interest in holding my breath before I knew who he was, I do look up to him now as inspiration because that's incredible. And it may not be magic to some people, but it is to me. And it's a talent, it's an athletic ability, and I'm proud to have it, and I'm very thankful of all the fans who love to see it. And that is why, we will try to keep the policies of this platform in mind, but we will continue to upload examples of it so everybody can see it and continue to be impressed and be fans of it. And for all of you practicing at home, I did give some tips, but remember, I always do it on land. Make sure that this isn't like sealed off or anything. Just be smart. Don't hurt yourselves. Don't play the choking game. Don't accidentally drown. Be smart and be safe about it. And show me what you've got. And I'll keep showing you what I've got. Well, I think I've answered that topic for the day. I am going to upload some more. I'm going to upload one about why people see me doing some of the other things they see on the channel. And more topics to come. So stay tuned. Thank you for listening and staying tuned to the channel and listening to me talk for so long. I'm Primal Instincts. This is Primal's podcast, and I will see you in the next episode.